Have you ever noticed this quiet little change happening inside you? It's not some big, dramatic thing. It's more of a subtle shift, like you're slowly, steadily pulling back from a world you used to lean into. If that sounds even a little bit familiar, well, let's explore what that feeling is really all about.
You know the feeling. Maybe you're at a party, standing on the edge of the room. You're not sad, you're not upset, you're just watching. The chatter just sounds kind of muffled, almost far away. You're there, but you're not really in it anymore. That feeling, that gentle retreat, that's exactly what we're going to talk about. All right, so let's get into it. This whole shift can be really puzzling, right? It's so easy to start wondering, is there something wrong with me? But here's a thought. What if it's not a flaw? What if this is actually a natural, maybe even a necessary phase of your life? I bet some of these sound familiar. Those conversations that used to get you all fired up, now they just feel like they're draining your battery. And those social groups you were once in the middle of, now it feels like you're watching from behind a pane of glass. And all that emotional static from other people, yeah, you've just started tuning it out, looking for the quiet instead. But here's the thing. When you really sit with it, you realize this isn't coming from a place of anger or being hurt. You don't actually hate people. You don't feel broken. It's something else entirely. So, what is going on here?
Well, the answer really has to do with how we understand emotional intelligence. It's about this big shift in how you see the world, moving beyond just feeling what others feel and starting to see the invisible blueprints of your interactions.
You know, we're always taught that emotional intelligence is just empathy, the ability to feel what someone else is feeling. But that's really just level 1. As it matures, real emotional intelligence evolves into something more analytical. It becomes pattern recognition.
And this is the shift right here. On the left, that's what we're taught it is. Just feel what they feel, be nice. But on the right, that's what it grows into. It's less about feeling with someone and more about seeing the hidden patterns, the repeating cycles in behavior. It lets you finally see what's actually draining you.
And you know what? This kind of awareness is a one-way street. Once you start to see those patterns, that one relationship that's all take and no give, that friend who only ever talks about themselves, you just can't unsee it. It becomes totally impossible to ignore.
This leads us straight into this fascinating idea called the tolerance paradox. It pretty much explains why getting all this new clarity doesn't necessarily make you want to be more social. Actually, a lot of the time, it does the exact opposite.
The whole idea is simple, but it is so profound. The more you understand yourself and the emotional games happening around you, the less you can put up with situations and relationships that just don't feel right. Your energy becomes way too valuable to waste on all that friction.
So this is kind of how it happens, in 3 simple steps. First, your awareness just gets sharper. You see the patterns for what they are. Then, because of that, your tolerance for all the draining stuff just plummets. It becomes so obvious. And finally, you start to self-regulate. Pulling away isn't just something that happens anymore. It becomes a conscious choice to protect your energy.
And the voice inside your head starts to change too. The questions you ask yourself get a lot more real. You start wondering, why do I feel so exhausted after just getting coffee with someone? Or why am I always having to justify myself? And you absolutely cannot ignore that deep feeling of calm that washes over you when you're by yourself. When your own body is telling you something that clearly, you learn to listen.
But of course, this whole internal change can be pretty jarring for the people in your life. There's this huge disconnect between how other people see it from the outside and how it actually feels on the inside.
This is that disconnect. From the outside, your new boundaries, they might look like you're being arrogant or cold or just plain disinterested. But your reality is completely different. What they see as arrogant, you feel as clarity. What feels cold to them is to you just peace. It isn't disinterest, it's self-respect.
And this is so important to get. You haven't lost your ability to care. Your empathy is still right there. What you've lost is the energy to keep explaining yourself over and over again to people who just seem committed to misunderstanding you. You realize that all that explaining is just exhausting, so you stop.
And this changes what silence even means to you. It's not an empty space anymore. It becomes a tool. It's an active, protective boundary you use to guard your own peace of mind, your energy. It's a choice. Now please hear this. This withdrawal is not about rejecting connection itself, not at all. It's about rejecting connection that's misaligned. You're not building walls to keep everyone out. You're just putting up a filter. You've realized you don't need more people, you just want the right people. You're waiting for alignment.
So as we wrap this up, I just want to leave you with a question. If this is you, if you feel yourself pulling away, just take a second and ask, are you disconnecting because you're hurt or broken? Or are you disconnecting because you're finally, truly starting to understand yourself? Because in the end, that space you're making for yourself, it isn't a void. It's fertile ground. It's the quiet room where you can finally hear yourself think. So just remember, sometimes that distance you're creating isn't loss at all. It's growth.